Good morning, everybody. This is Not CC Unison's annual Holocaust Memorial Day event. Today is the 27th, so it's on the actual event this year for us. Today marks the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. That was at 3 p.m, so be aware that that's coming up. I'd like to welcome you all to the event, both in the room and online. Again, it's a bit of a mixed event. It's a small event this year. We're hoping to get back to our full day events, or at least half-day events, in the near future. So I'd like to hand over to the chair for the lighting of the candle and starting of our event. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everybody, and I'm very privileged to be here today as the chairman of Nottinghamshire County Council. Every year in Nottinghamshire, we come together as a community to mark Holocaust Memorial Day, to remember the atrocities of the past and to help ensure that they are never repeated. This Holocaust Memorial Day marks the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau, the largest Nazi concentration camp complex, and the 30th anniversary of the genocide in Bosnia. I am proud to join with you in honouring all those who have lost their lives in these terrible events, and to remember both what happened and, just as importantly, to try and understand why it happened. For a Better Future is a theme for Holocaust Memorial Day 2025. Our theme this year highlights that there are many things we can all do to create a better future. We can speak up against Holocaust and genocide denial and distortion. We can challenge prejudice. We can encourage others to learn about the Holocaust and more recent genocides. As a community, it is important that we share a common and mutual respect for people of all faiths and from all backgrounds, and to celebrate the amazing diverse communities we have in Nottinghamshire. It is up to all of us to take action for a better future. As I light this candle in memory of the millions of people who lost their lives in the Holocaust and the genocides in more recent times, let us recommit to tolerance and respect towards all our fellow men and women.
Thank you very much. I'm going to start with a couple of slides first, or a little video on the 10 stages of genocide that was produced by the Holocaust Memorial Day Trust. So if you bear with me a second, I'll get technical with the computer. Screen there. There you are. And every year we've gone further down that list to number 10. It's getting terrible in the world at the moment. So vigilance and remembrance is really important in calling out when you see people being discriminated against, I feel is really important. One of the things that we do in our event is we remember the name of a child of the Holocaust. This started when the Holocaust Memorial Day civic event was held at County Hall. That rightly moved out to Laxton, a proper place for, I believe, a civic remembrance. But that left the staff here with nothing to remember or participate in. So I found these names at the Holocaust Memorial Day Trust, printed out 78 pages and cut out the names individually, put them into a chest that my wife has her smelly candles in, depositing the candles elsewhere, and then stood in front of County Hall on the morning of the 27th and said, would anybody like a name to remember of a child of the Holocaust? That's gone forward electronically now, where I have colleagues email me for names and we remember the names at this event. I was, I'd made those names an icon or an image because I'd put so much reverence in them, and I didn't know what to do with this bin bag of names after my wife told me I couldn't have the chest anymore. So I had a bin bag of names and I didn't know what to do with them. I was conflicted because I didn't want to burn them, because that is what happened to the names in real life. And I was unladen of the burden of the names by a previous rabbi taking those names from me. I don't remember a name because I still cut and paste the names to everybody, so I end up reading all the names that go out. It's still a burden, but I'd like those who want to read a name, they are free to read it. When we go through the PowerPoint, I believe there's an opportunity to read your name then. The idea is that the person is remembered even for one day. The Nazi regime wanted to remove them from the face of the earth and any trace of them, and by remembering them, I think we put just another 2 fingers to that regime. So that's that. So I'm going to move on to ask the room if the room would like to start with the names. Some of the names are East European, so a bit difficult for our Anglo-Saxon tongue. So if you feel that you'd like to read it in your minds, then that's fine. You don't have to read it out loud. Thank you. Jen, would you like to read a name?
Stefan Julius Hilf from Czechoslovakia, and his place of death was Auschwitz in 1944.
Judith Borenstein, age 10, lived in Czechoslovakia, place of death Auschwitz, and 7th of May 1944.
Ivan Hill. Ivan lived in Czechoslovakia as well on the 7th when he died at Auschwitz in 1944.
Thea Gutman, age 8, place of birth was Germany, place of death Auschwitz, 1943.
Leon Bohokana, Czechoslovakia, place of death Auschwitz, 1944.
aged 15, from Poland, died in Auschwitz, 1943.
Miriam Goldklang, aged 10, from Poland, died in Auschwitz in 1944.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to the PowerPoint, so bear with me while I do those again. So normally we come to a speaker for the event. This year we don't have a speaker, so I just thought I would just go through some of the things of today. The liberation of Auschwitz was at 3 o'clock on the 27th. It was by the Russian army, the Soviet army, and they had come across some camps before, but not to the extent that this one was. At first they weren't sure whether to enter the camp. They thought it may have been an ambush because of the amount of devastation that they saw there. At the time, Auschwitz held up to 135,000 people. If we think about Nottinghamshire, I believe Rushcliffe has a population of 115,000. So if you think the population plus of Rushcliffe in a confined space, for football fans, I think the Forest Ground holds 30,000, so 4 Forest Grounds worth of people in a small area. Over 1 million people were executed at Auschwitz, and we have a video of the liberation of Belsen, which happens in April, which is when the British Army, coming in from the west, found that camp. But that wasn't until April, so another 4 months of suffering for people. In the Jewish cemetery at Wilford, there's an RAF gentleman from Canada called Sergeant Ralph Frank. All his family are no longer with us, and he died in Bomber Command in a Pathfinder Force 97 Squadron. His crew that he signed up with, who they flew 20 operations together, died 2 weeks before he did. He was ill and wasn't with his crew when the crew died on a raid to Berlin. That crew was a mainly Canadian crew as well, and they had come over from Canada to fight against the Nazis. Ralph was Jewish, and so was his friend who was in 617 Squadron, and he was trying to convince Ralph to go with him to 617 Squadron. Sadly, his friend Albert died on the Dam Busters raid. Ralph used to swap his dog tags with the pilot because the pilot's name was Donald Plout. And Donald said that he was far easier for him to convince the Nazis that he was not Jewish than Ralph would. So whenever they flew, they would swap dog tags. He also, when they were flying, picked up a name, Paddy O'Brien. And that's how the crew called him and would call him if they were captured, to further throw off the Nazis of his Jewish identity. Ralph died with the squadron commander on the way back from Berlin when their Lancaster was heavily damaged. They were circling for a second attempt to land at RAF Coningsby and crashed at the end of the runway. Part of that crew is still buried at RAF Coningsby, and Ralph is with us in Wilford. Donald Plout's nephew, who was born 80 years ago, he's coming over to England, and we hope to get to see Ralph. Also, this year is the 80th anniversary of the Manor flights, or Operation Chowhound if you're American. These were the day and night time drops of food and supplies to the Dutch after the Nazis withdrew from Holland and flooded all the fields. It created a huge famine, and again, Bomber Command was pinnacle in creating that. The first crews that went in were of Pathfinders, and they deemed that if anybody was going to be shot down, it would be them, handing over food. As they flew low in over the defences of Holland, they were expecting any moment to be shot down. Instead, they found roofs with white sheets saying thank you all over them. Holland is really important, or the Netherlands is really important to me. They remember our dead every year, and school children, they adopt a grave and they look after that grave for a year. It is important to remember, which is why we still have this small event, even though it is small. It's important to remember because lines of families do end. Ralph never went home, he's with us, so it's important that we remember him and all those who served. So that's really all I've got to say. Anybody who would like a name, please email me, get in touch with me, and I'll send a name through to you. Sadly, there are so many names that I don't think we'll run out of names for a while. So with that, I'll move on to some of the video testimonies, and we've got several videos to go through. All of the resources that I'm using are from Holocaust Memorial Day Trust. It has a wealth of information. Please find a few minutes to check out a page. You'll find yourself losing days. It's got so much there, not just on the genocide and the Holocaust as we remember it, as we're remembering today, but also for Darfur, for Cambodia, for Bosnia. So take a moment to look at some of the resources that are there. We have a SharePoint for staff to have a look at as well, and there's an Engage via page as well that you can look at. So enough of me blabbering. I'll move on to some of the videos.
My mother, brother, and I stayed together, but we were separated from my father. We never saw him again.
We have more, unfortunately.
Pierwsze słowo to było cygojny, szwajny, cygojny. Te dwa słowa. To pamiętam i z tymi słowami ja umrę.
So it's not just one group. They were put into several groups, and it was groups that were chosen. We can't forget, and we shouldn't forget. As I say, the signposting for the event is that we have these resources available to us via the Holocaust Memorial Day Trust, which is hmd.org.uk. On the intranet, we have our SharePoint area. And as I say, if people would like names, I'm happy to give more names. I think that's where we'll end, and we can have discussions in the room if people want to have discussions in the room. There are more videos available. Please check them out. Listen to the witness testimony. Without those witnesses coming forward, even though they had to wait so long because of the pain to come forward, we need to listen and understand what they're saying to us. Because we only have one world and we only have one people. We're all human beings. So with that, thank you very much for coming to the event. And if you'd like to stay and talk, happy to talk. Thank you very much.